in the space. I think you have like 50,000 followers right now on YouTube. I just lost the count. How are you, Jay?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Felipe. Something like that. I don't keep track anymore. But yes, excited to be here. Been working with you guys for a long time, so excited to pour some value into your audience here.
Awesome. So Jay is going to share all his secrets today on how he managed to get to $700,000 a month on his agency. Is that right? Like how is that even possible? I think that's like it's just an unthinkable amount. But you know, I see you on Instagram. You have a huge office, so obviously to pull that off, you need to have like, you know, a good cash flow, decent revenue. So and then, you know, I see like some of your content, traveling, all of that. So obviously to afford a lifestyle, you need to have a very profitable business. So yeah, how about we start with a little bit about yourself, your background story. Obviously, you probably like try something before lead gen. So how did you get to where you are today?
I'd love to start off just by saying the 700,000, like everyone listening to this, don't believe everything you see on a screen. 700K is a really good month for us. Typically, we're hovering anywhere from like 400 to 700. And
Yes.
people look at that number and they say like, holy crap, how am I ever going to get to that? Well, I'm looking at my friends who are doing like $2 million months. And I'm like, holy crap, how am I ever going to get to that? So just it's one step at a time. You accomplish one goal, you move on to the next, hire one person, move on to the next. And before you know it, it adds up as long as you're learning and growing a little bit every day. So that's a little bit about that. And a little bit about me. I actually wasn't an online marketer for like the first half of my life. I actually went to medical school, finished medical school in New York City, practiced for a year as a family medicine doctor. Now, my intro into online marketing, cold email specifically, it's about a decade ago. I don't know if anyone in the audience wants to guess how old I am, but I'm not one of the young guns out there doing cold email right now. I started my online marketing agency halfway through medical school. And back in that day, it instantly wasn't a thing. We were all using tools like Woodpecker and ClickSend. It was really like the gold for us. ClickSend let us send tens of thousands of emails with one click at one time without all these mailboxes and warming. It's before all the rules really cracked down. So that's, I'd say, what helped me get my agency from zero to like $1 million a month. Just blasting emails into the inbox of tens of thousands of people every week using these old tools and methods that no longer work. So fast forward to now, you know, I went through my 1 year of medical training, hated it, was running my business, was doing well, and I was making more than a lot of the doctors that were teaching me every day. And I was just miserable. So at one point, I'm like, what the hell am I doing here? So I left to run my agency full time. That's Otter PR. I have a business partner, Scott Bartnick. And once I decided to kind of go all in on this agency, was able to scale it up to what it is today in about 4 years. We've got 60 employees. We've got, you know, an 8,000 square foot headquarters that we own in downtown St. Pete, another building in Orlando. So really everything I've learned about cold email, I learned building a marketing channel for this agency, which I'm still CMO, visionary, co-founder, and running kind of full time. So here we are today, and I decided to start a YouTube channel about a couple years ago, teaching what I know. And then everyone on the YouTube channel was demanding a course. So I'm like, all right, shit, I don't know if I can curse on this thing. I guess I have to go make a course. Okay. I'll try and keep it to a minimum. So about a year ago, I launched my Insiders program, where I started teaching all of like my inner secrets that I learned and was practicing for Otter PR. And here we are today. I've got great partners like you guys, and I've really found a fun shit for teaching. I love helping business owners.
Yeah, we love how passionate you are about this. So obviously, you know, like the wording comes with like all the passion and the intensity. And we really appreciate how, not just about instantly, but you're educating people out there on how to land on the inbox correctly. Because, like, funny story, like I was advising a friend of mine like 2 weeks ago. He was like, okay, I want to send cold emails. So I set up everything for him, sent a few emails, and we started like getting replies. So I just handed it all over to him. And I told him the very first thing, don't use your main domain for sending cold emails. And that's the very first thing he did. And he just burned his whole domain. He got a warning from Google. He has a $5 million business. So imagine like a team of like 20, 30 people, like they're all getting like blocked on Google. It's just a nightmare.
Yeah.
So it's awesome to have people like yourself, like constantly educating people about the best practices, because people assume that sending cold emails is just as easy as like as click of a button. And you know, it's easy, but you still have to stick to best practices. It's just like, you know, like if you want to get fit, like you have to cut down on alcohol, you know, you have to follow a diet, you have to work out. It's just like you have to follow the basics. Like there is no bypassing any of that. So really appreciate all the work you do for the community and everyone out there.
All those things have happened to all of us, including me. My primary domain has been burned before too, and it sucks. And best practices is a moving target. Even though I'm on there teaching this stuff, and you're probably on YouTube, you know, watching my email deliverability and my stay out of spam rules, just know that like I'm also learning every day. I've got my 5 people that I call when something changes or something happens and I need to go figure out an answer. So it's a constant learning game. So the best thing that everybody can do is find people they trust, consume only their content, and just be sure to keep learning.
Amazing. So we are going to be answering your questions live, guys. So feel free to ask your questions on YouTube, LinkedIn, and everywhere where we're just live. We can be like mixing it up, like answering some of the community questions. That's okay with you, Jay, while we, you know, share your secrets.
Of course.
They're kind of aligned. So one of the first questions is, how long did it take you to go from $0 to $1 million of annual revenue?
So my first marketing agency that I started was called Instaleet. We were doing social media marketing. Now that company took 2 years for me to kind of figure everything out, get a client base, really learn how to be an entrepreneur. And there's a lot of things that you need to figure out to allow you to scale to $1 million per year. You need a team, you need an infrastructure, you need systems and SOPs. So that first run was about 2 years. Now that whole thing kind of came crashing down for a variety of reasons. And then I pretty much had to start from scratch with Otter PR. Once I did that and I had all those skills that I learned from Instaleet, I was able to do it in about 6 months.
Nice. That's amazing. So yeah, I can see you've tried a little bit of everything. So when it comes to where your agency is today, so how about we start with the process? So how large is your agency or multiple ventures? Because I believe you have like a PR agency and then you have a lead generation agency. So let's first start on how does your business work? Like what is your core business and how do they work together?
So Otter PR is my core business. This is my marketing agency.
Okay.
Otter PR is about 60 staff, plus or minus 3. We've got an HR director, a CEO. We're always the staff is always fluctuating between like 55 and 65.
Nice.
That's across 2 headquarters. Most of those are W-2 employees. Anything we do agency service-wise is Otter PR domain. That one I have a co-founder, Scott Bartnick. We're 50-50. Lead Gen J, which is a much newer entity, I'd say in the past 2 years, anything that's not an agency service that's cold email related, I sell under that entity. So we do full build outs. We do the training programs, the courses, the coaching, and that's 100% me. And it is an active effort to kind of keep those 2 entities separate and figure out how to balance the time.
Right. Yeah. I love the brand that you have built around Lead Gen J. Like it's very rare not to know someone who's been around in the space who doesn't know your brand. Like you became like such a strong advocate for lead generation and cold email out there. And you know, we've known each other for a couple of years already. Yeah. And I've seen you growing and it's just been exponential lately. So yeah, very impressive. Like I was always wondering how you just, you know, manage multiple businesses at the same time. But and you look like fine, you look like you sleep your 8 hours a day and all of that. So pretty good like organizational skill, like, you know, like just time efficiency and everything out there. So when it comes to your lead generation business, which is I think what we can like people can take you know the most value from today. Sure. Have you seen, let's talk about like anything that you did in 2024 compared to 2025 so people can, you know, learn a few lessons from here. So what is it that you feel made you succeed on 2024 as a lead generation owner in terms of deliverability or managing your business? Anything that you want to share with people that 2024, I mean, that you learned from 2024 or that help you scale your business?
One of the, I'd say, biggest changes, biggest hires, biggest differences in tools and tactics that we implemented probably halfway through 24, that's been a huge change for us, was somebody to actually manage the cold email. But mostly, a lot of our workflow has changed. So we used to do what a lot of people in the YouTube channel watching right now are probably doing. They're pulling data from a B2B database like Apollo. They're cleaning it separately in a tool like Million Verifier. And then they're just putting it into their Instantly AI campaigns. They're probably relatively generic campaigns, not too personalized. One thing that we implemented halfway through 2024, which is something that a lot of people have heard about, but I still haven't seen too many people actually doing it because it does add a layer of complexity and cost. And that's using tools like clay.com. Now, Clay has completely uprooted our workflow. We're no longer going tool to tool to tool to tool. We've got our lead list. We put it into Clay. And then from there, we have basic tables that do everything for us. It uses AI to make sure that that lead is actually a good lead to reach out to. Most people don't realize if they go in Apollo and they type in, marketing agencies under industries, 7 out of 10 are actually going to be the right marketing agencies to reach out to. But the other 3 out of 10 are not a good fit, and they're likely to report you as spam. So using something like Clay to use AI to qualify those people, double verify them. I know Instantly can now double verify as well, but we'll run it through Million Verifier, Find Email, so that we get all those unknowns, get all those catch-alls. And then we'll use AI to do personalization as well. So research the company. We'll usually find 1 or 2 words that are unique that we can throw into the email just to pattern interrupt and say, holy crap, that person researched me. This is an email from a real person that they took the time to write. And as hard as it gets with deliverability, I think the tools that we now have in our arsenal are that much better. So Clay's been a massive lifesaver for us. And then it also puts it right into our Instantly campaign once it's done.
Yeah, amazing. I love it. And actually that is something like, for example, I send my own cold email campaigns as well. So actually I used to have a lead generation agency before, and we really like to practice what we preach.
Yes.
Because one thing, like I tried every single lead generation tool you can think of.
Me too.
Over the past 10 years. I've done cold email for 10 years, actually.
Me too. All right.
Nice. And one thing that I've noticed is that people sometimes go too cheap on data. And then you just get like a database scrape of just everywhere, and you just merge it all together and send it. And that used to work 10 years ago, where you could send like 2,000 emails from a single email account. Those were the golden years. Now you can send 20 or 30 tops per mailbox. But right now, I think the biggest takeaway I can get from everything you said is just don't go cheap on data. Like just try to get good quality data. Try to use a good verification system. I think that's where Clay has its main strength. You can just waterfall different providers and just get good results, and obviously use some prompt in there.
Yes.
But yeah, that's awesome. Any other automations that you have in your business? Because I know you're big into AI and automations. Is there anything? Because I remember you were kind of building an in-house tool to automate your
How
replies.
long you got?
Like, yeah.
So yeah, how many hours you got? I've got a lot of automations that are running all of the departments in my business, from lead generation to sales to operations. I can definitely point to some really unique ones that I've built that I haven't seen anybody else doing. And I call it the reply JI system. I think we actually talked about this briefly. It's basically 3 different tools that I've stacked together to build in an automated reply system. Somebody responds to my email in Instantly AI. Instead of relying on Instantly AI to categorize it as interested or not interested, I actually have other categories. I have soft no, hard no, F no, and different things will happen based on kind of how they respond. But if it's a soft no, it actually sends them a heartfelt thank you and goodbye with some case studies. If it's an interested reply, my automation will do research on that person using a combination of Perplexity and Claude to actually go out into the internet, find info about them, use my prompts and my knowledge base to craft the perfect reply to them that's actually well thought out, like a real SDR took the time to research that person. And then we have the option to either send that automatically within minutes or add a human review step in our Notion database. It all goes in there. All my team has to do is click a button to send it or edit it and then click the button to send it. And that's expedited our workflow a ton. And the biggest thing that it's done is increased our conversion rate from interested lead to call. Most people don't get back to their interested leads fast enough, and they're just sending canned replies once somebody took the time to raise their hand and say, I'm interested. And I think that's one of the biggest mistakes people make is, guys, it's hard enough to do cold email and to get interested leads. Yeah. Once somebody raises their hand and says, I'm interested in learning more, you better take the time to respond to them quickly and do the research and give them a well thought out response. So that's really what this reply JI system that I built does.
Nice. I totally agree with you. And I think that kind of answers this question from the community on how do you turn positive replies into book calls? Because a lot of people, they kind of assume, okay, so I got like a bunch of replies, you know, that's it, I'm done. But now comes the other challenge, which is following up with these people and making sure that they actually turn into calls and then paying customers, right? So I love how you have automated that part, because a lot of people, they kind of get lazy on it. They don't follow up enough, or they don't respond quickly enough. There is some data that I was reading the other day about the recommended response time. So if you respond under 5 minutes, the likelihood to convert someone, it's many times higher, right? So that is something that I think you have kind of solved, and at the same time increase potentially your conversion rates by just automating the process, because a human will not be able to respond unless you have like an army of people checking your inbox constantly, right?
Most people don't have that luxury, unfortunately. Yeah, so exactly. Yes, systems is the answer. But sorry, continue.
Yeah. No, I wanted to ask you, is there anything else that you think could help this community member, Kumar, on turning positive replies into book calls, on top of automating your Unibox, and also doing research and responding to people? Anything else that you think it could like help him convert better?
100%. And guys, obviously this isn't a problem until you have a lot of interested replies coming in. Right. If you're getting one a day, this isn't an issue. So first you need to solve for that. How do I get at least 1 out of every 100 emails I sent to convert into a positive reply? For most offers, that's kind of the goal metric that I'll look for. But then once you're at scale and you're getting 10, 20 interested replies per day, you really need to think about this question. How do I turn these replies into booked calls? So a couple of things that you can do. One, I just mentioned, get back to them quickly, do research. And then a lot of this comes into sales. It's a sales question, because now they're interested. Now it's turning that interested person into a sale and into a call. Now, what a lot of people like to do is just info dump on these interested replies. Here's the pricing. Here's all the features of the offer. You want to avoid doing that. If they have a specific question, answer their question, and then keep something on the line for more. We talked about lure. This is one of the things with lure. You don't just want to info dump on anybody in your cold emails or in the appointment setting process. Keep a lot of that for the call and try and defer as many of those questions as you can for the call. If someone's like, I need the price before I get on a call, give them the price. Don't hold all of that off, but don't tell them all of the features. Let them know they're going to learn something special on the call. So there's that, keeping a lot, don't info dump on them. And then 2, use the CRM. So we like to keep our cold email CRM and our warm CRM completely separate. We're using Go High Level for all of our warm leads, people who know who I am. They've booked a call, they've filled out a form, they've taken some action with my company. If they haven't taken an action yet, they still stay in my Instantly CRM. So Instantly was like $97 a month to activate your CRM.
Yeah, unlimited seats. I don't know a single CRM that doesn't charge per seat. So we just went.
Go High Level is the only other one.
Go High Level. Yeah. Great guys. Yeah, we love the Go High Level guys.
Yeah, with Instantly and Go High Level, that's everything that you need to scale to $1 million. I firmly believe that. But activate your Instantly CRM and live and die in there. Because another huge mistake people make, which is a lot harder to automate, is the follow-up. So you'll want to set those follow-ups. You send them an email. Okay, so follow up in 5 days. They don't know who you are at this point. That you're really fighting to get them onto a call because they're not looking for you. They don't know who you are. So you really need to go the extra mile. If they don't respond to your first follow-up, send them another one and move them through your pipeline in the Instantly CRM until they take action. So it's good to have an appointment setter in there who's responsible for that instantly CRM. So those are my additional 2 tips, and I think that'll help you a lot.
Amazing. Also, I want to share with you some love from the community. It's great to see people, spreading love. And regarding 2025, right? We spoke about 2024, 2025. Well, we're already like almost half into the year. What do you think has been working for you this year? Like, what have you done different? Again, in terms of business-wise, managing your business, or deliverability-wise, sending cold email campaigns?
I gotta say, Felipe, I'm all in on AI and automation. So everything that I'm doing now and working on is how can I connect this and this? How can I latch on to this signal and automate this process? So a lot of people in here may have seen me posting campaigns with 20% reply rates. And that's really only possible if you, with some of these modern technologies and tactics that I teach. So for example, Trigify is a tool where I can monitor my key opinion leaders on LinkedIn and reach out to anybody commenting on their posts. That campaign gets a consistent 12% positive reply rate. It's just a massive winner. Scraping specific lists. So for our PR agency, the Inc. 5000 list, we pulled that list and we've got a 10% reply rate on that campaign. So 2025 and forward, it's all going to be about automating those signals. Is there a specific place where I know that people are interested in my thing, where I'm not just pulling mass data from Apollo, but I'm seeing that signal and I'm responding to that signal using some sort of automation? And how can I work AI in there to get the best possible response and most personalized message to them? So that's, I think, where this is heading. We've done a really good job at finding those signals, LinkedIn job posts, comments, different award lists. And those signals are going to be different based on what industry you're in. One common one I hear for lead gen agencies is people hiring SDRs and BDRs. That's a simple one that most people don't do. It's not super simple to set up, but it's an obvious one that people don't think about. So if you go that extra mile to build that one time, it's going to produce results for you long term. And I don't think people are willing to do the work and learn the tools to set something like that up, to monitor those LinkedIn job posts for BDR, SDR, lead generation specialist, cold email specialist, and reach out to the companies hiring them. They're asking for help with that thing. Go and help them.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And, I think that gives me like some ideas. Like, for example, people could do exactly what you're doing, which is like tracking companies hiring right now. And all you have to do is just send them a cold email campaign telling them, hey, I see you're hiring people or salespeople. So obviously that's a signal that they're looking to increase their revenue. So if you offer them, let's say, hey, could I send you a list of warm leads so your sales team can close?
Yeah. You want to hear another fancy one that I'm doing inside of my Insiders program? It's been working really well for me. Nobody else is doing this.
Go on.
So obviously I teach email deliverability and cold email automation. How many emails do you get in your spam box every day from people trying to sell you things on average? 10, 20, 30? A ton.
I'll say around 50.
Yeah. All of those people who are hitting our spam box are having a hard time with cold email. They have no idea what they're doing. Hence, they're in the spam box. So I've turned all of those people emailing me and hitting my spam into leads that I'm reaching out to saying, hey, you ended up in my spam. I'm Lead Gen J, and I'd love to help. Here's a free YouTube video on how to fix it. And again, I've got another 20% converting campaign. So that's a signal that a lot of people don't think about.
It's awesome, man.
Thank you.
Amazing. No, seriously. When you started with this, I knew where this was heading to because I thought about it once, and I'm so happy to hear that someone is doing it. And
it's a fairly simple automation to set up. It's in the program, but it's been, again, another 20% reply rate campaign.
Nice. No, that's awesome. And yeah, I have to say that I've been kind of auditing some of these spam emails every now and then. They're great for me to create content on LinkedIn. Like they're doing me a favor. I just pick like some of those, and then actually I review one of those, and I got like 300,000 impressions on LinkedIn. It was crazy. But
I want to start doing that. Cold email teardowns. Everyone keeps telling me to do them. I'm going to do one. You just inspired me.
Do it. You'll get great organic reach. And everyone out there, just throwing some ideas for you guys to create content if you ever want to do so. But yeah, I think why the email kind of exploded is because people felt kind of identified with a common problem, which is they use AI to personalize the email. So,
Yes.
respect, they went like the extra mile, but they kind of use, probably they use Clay or they use whichever tool, and they just didn't do the process right. So basically the first line and the subject line were not aligned with the offer. So it was something like, hey, I see that you like turtles. Would you like to buy my lead generation services? It's like, it's completely misaligned, right? So that's something that you want to make sure it's aligned. Like what you were just saying, which is the signal. I see you're hiring salespeople, right? So it's revenue related, and then you pitch a revenue related product rather than using it as an icebreaker. People can see through all of these things, right? Like today, it's very hard to trick people into like, oh, I see you on LinkedIn. Yeah, we all know you just use an automation, so you don't actually have to say anything like that, right? So yeah, awesome. So deliverability wise, is there anything that you're doing?
I'm going to comment on the AI thing, if that's okay. And you mentioned earlier that people make the mistake of buying cheap leads. Say the only thing worse than not having lead data is having the wrong lead data. If you're buying cheap leads and they have the job title wrong or the company wrong or the industry wrong, that's worst case scenario, because now you are just setting yourself up to get marked as spam. So if you're going to get lead data, you need the right lead data. If you're going to use AI, using cheap, bad AI is worse than not using AI at all. So much worse, because people see right through it. And if you're using bad AI, you're going to get marked as spam. If it's not relevant, if it's wrong, a lot of times you're using AI prompts that are hallucinating or working on wrong information, then you're going to get marked as spam. The end result's going to be worse than if you weren't using AI at all. So if you're going to do this thing, you need to do it right. And it's an art and a science that you have to get better at over time. Look at some examples from people like me and Eric Nowalski, who are doing a really good job with like 1 or 2 word phrases that are organically inserted into an email to make it just a little bit personalized, just enough where it's not wrong 99 out of 100 times. And they're able to say, oh, he actually took the time to go find that information.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I noticed that if I have to rank like the biggest factors to get like more replies, one of them is relevance. So you nailed it on that one. Second is the offer. Well, actually, probably the offer is top one, but relevance and offer are the top, and then deliverability, right? Like you obviously, if you're not landing on the inbox, like it's all pointless, right? But I think if you get those 3 right, like sky is the limit. Like anyone could get 20% reply rate, like you do. Okay, here is a question from Sat regarding how you manage your list leads. Do you recycle them? Like, how do you make sure you never run out of leads or of databases? Like, what is your strategy there? Something I use personally. So so actually this is based on instant data, right? So we found out that if your follow-ups are too consistent, your reply rates start dropping off after the 3rd or 4th follow-up, like dramatically. So usually you get the highest amount of replies from the first 2 to 4 emails. And then what we do is after that, you start pissing people off and they start marking you spam.
Yeah.
I mean, we have to put ourselves in the shoes of the other person. If I start receiving 4 consecutive emails from the same person, it's kind of like annoying, right? So what we found out is that if you kind of space it out and you contact the same person, let's say 3-6 months later, they kind of forgot about you. So it's kind of, it's fine to recontact them again. They're not gonna get so pissed. And there is another factor, which is how companies plan their budget and overall a timing issue, right? Because you might be contacting someone today, but they might not need that right now because maybe they don't have the budget or just they're focused on something else. So I usually tell people that it's the same as if you email me right now about like a really good holiday package, right? Right now, I'm not like thinking about like planning my vacations, but maybe in 2 or 3 more months, my wife will start telling me, hey, how about we plan that one trip to like Hawaii or whatever it is? And then we're like, yeah, actually, I'm interested. And then if someone emails me on that exact timing, I might respond back. So that is something I recommend people. Do you have anything else that you think could help people like always manage to have the right amount of leads to never run out of leads? Like, how do you do that in your business?
Yes, I'd love to add to that. And I just want to back Felipe up on this. I agree with everything that you said. 3 to 6 months is a really good timeline for people to have no idea who you are when you recycle it and you hit them again. Now, some industries have a different problem than others. So my 2 offers that I really send cold emails for are a PR offer, which we can help pretty much any business in any industry, anywhere in the world. And then a lead generation offer. Again, kind of same thing. Anyone who needs to generate B2B leads, we can reach out to them. So if you're only selling to like Fortune 500 CEOs in Minnesota, you're going to have a problem because you're going to run out of leads really quickly. So you're going to have to do what Felipe said a lot sooner. So what I would do in this case is maybe try and extend that sequence out to 4 emails and recycle them every 3 months. Keep those 4 closely spaced together and recycle more often. If you have a giant target TAM, like I do, I don't recycle more than like every 6 to 12 months, somewhere in between there. Because if you can avoid recycling, you're probably going to have better results because those people haven't heard from you yet. And I've just noticed people that I haven't already hit before, that I'm hitting them for the first time. Those campaigns tend to do a little bit better than recycled campaigns. So if you have a small TAM, recycle more often every 3 months. If you have a giant TAM, you should be able to go 6 to 12 months without having to recycle.
Nice. Amazing. Yep. A nice Tam, you have a great market right there with your business. You probably will never run out of
you'll never run out.
Yeah. Amazing.
And by the time you do recycle, there's going to be hundreds of thousands of more businesses that have popped up in the databases that you can contact.
Yeah, I agree. So when it comes to email deliverability in 2025, what is it that you're doing? Because obviously it's becoming like stricter and stricter. And, you know, some people might complain about it. Actually, I'm happy about it because some people, they really just spam for the sake out of spamming. So if you follow the best practices, I just like yourself, I also get a 10% reply rate. I just adjust my strategy a little bit, but you know, my results are not getting crushed at all. But what is it that you're doing in 2025 in order to get better email deliverability? Make sure you land on the inbox. Any email infrastructure you're using? Any tips that you have for people out there?
Yeah, happy to share everything that I'm doing, and it's working really well. We're delivering 99.7% to Google and like 98% to Microsoft right now.
Nice.
All from this infrastructure. So it's working. For sure, it's working. We're typically using Google mailboxes. That's probably 75% of our infrastructure. I have set up services that I've developed over the years. I know you have yours as well. I've got my own team that deploys these mailboxes, leadjj.com/inbox if you're interested. Nice. So most of them are Google mailboxes. About the other 20% are Microsoft Office through a company called Hypertide, where they're doing something like enterprise Microsoft boxes where they'll give you like 200 of them, all with the ability to send 2 to 3 emails per day to stay under certain thresholds. So I think the name of the game in 2025 is good warm-up. I think you guys are kind of leading the pack in terms of warm-up quality. Haven't had any problems. I'm also in your premium warm-up pool, but that's been a huge factor. And then keeping the sending volume as low as possible. So with those Hypertide boxes, 2 or 3 emails per day. With my Google boxes, most of them aren't doing more than 20 emails per day. Whereas we used to do as a standard 50 to 100 emails per day, just a couple of years ago. Now it's up to 20 to keep them safe. We can push it up to 40, 50 before we start seeing problems, but it's much easier to scale horizontally, add more mailboxes and keep the campaign safe and keep the warm-up volume high with reply rates high. We actually don't follow your recommendations there. We turn the reply rates on instantly for the warm-up emails almost all the way up. And that seems to be working really well. We're delivering almost 100%. We've also experimented with some private SMTP emails, Mission Inbox. Tony Baltonato is a good friend. Those work well. They're a little pricey, but I would try and avoid the really cheap stuff. The cheap stuff like the Inframails and the Mail Forges, where they're just spinning up these like private server mailboxes. It can be really tempting to bite at because of the price. But once those IPs are roasted and they roast quickly, they're dead. And
Yeah.
if this stuff is hard enough as it is, as you mentioned, hitting the inbox is hard enough as it is. You need to follow best practices to give yourself the best shot. And the best way to do that is to follow people like Felipe and I.
Yeah, but I think you got a good point there. People don't just go cheap on data; they also go cheap on email infrastructure and just overall in tools. And yeah, people shouldn't go for the cheapest possible option. I mean, you might get lucky sometimes, right? Like you might like find like an unlimited CRM, like go high level or instantly, right? And it might be like a good quality one, but I'll say most of the time, yeah, it's probably not a scalable business or not solid enough, right? Because you still need like decent revenue to make sure you have a quality product. So how about we, like, this is a very broad question, right? But I know you're really into always trying new tools. You're kind of a little bit of like a Nostradamus. Like, I don't know if you have like a crystal ball in your office. You probably do, because you have a lot of, you have the Infinity Gauntlet in your office. I've seen it and a bunch of other stuff. So
It's one of them there. Yeah.
nice. So yeah, how do you see in the next 10 to 20 years AI? I know people talk a lot about it, but how about in our space, in lead generation specifically? Like, how do you see that changing? Today, what I'm seeing today is Google and Apple specifically summarizing emails for people. Like you can click about, like, just you have one option that now summarizes emails, and that's going to be incredible for relevance, for example, because then rather than skimming through a whole email, it's just going to be like, Jay wants to invite you for free to his community, right? And then if you're like a lead generation owner, you're like, okay, awesome, I would love to join a lead generation community. But then if I get like a spammy email on something like, X person wants to sell you diabetes pills, and I'm like, I don't have diabetes. What are you talking about? And I'm just gonna delete the email, and I don't have to even read it because it's been summarized. So what do you see in the next 10 years, for example?
So my crystal ball, I think more than anything, is my community. They're always sending the new tools and tactics that they're all using, which keeps me on my toes. Because if it's something I haven't heard of yet, now I've got to go learn this thing. And typically I've got someone from the community to come expedite my learning curve. Now, I guess a couple ways to approach this question. How do I see it changing the world of cold email? And then how do I see, my job role in the next 20 years? It's a very confusing time for everybody, I'm sure. For cold email, I think we're already starting to see the results of this. We're starting to see Google implement Gemini, like you mentioned. Microsoft, we know, is using AI to read all of the emails going in and out of their ESP. So I think more than ever, we have to get really creative in how we approach cold email, which is part of what I teach. Don't just come in guns blazing with feature lists and prices and links. You really have to try and bait the problem. Get them to raise their hand and say, I could use help with that, or I am interested in more information. But I think going forward, we can anticipate that if your email comes off as really salesy and promotional, it's probably not going to make it through. So for cold emailers, it's going to be a nonstop battle between us and the ESPs, trying to not send spam, not send promotion in that email. Actually try and send genuine emails to get people interested and say, I'd like more information on that thing. Now, one of the things that really excites me with AI and cold email is these fully autonomous AI cold email agents that are researching prospects, developing sequences, doing the follow-up, and doing the appointment setting, all of it under one centralized AI platform. And these companies have been approaching me nonstop. I've probably tested 3 of them so far that actually seemed promising. One of them from MailForge, one of them from China. They give me access. We set this thing up, and it's been trash. Every single one of them's just been total garbage. Not even like a little bit of respectable results. But I do think it will get there, just like everything else in the AI world. You look at it 2 years ago and you're like, that's not usable. Now it is. I've got AI avatars of myself that are now speaking that you can't tell it's an AI.
Oh, wow.
I'm now using AI for autonomous copywriting that is better than me. If this was 2 years ago, I would have said there's no way this thing's going to be able to write copy better than me.
Amazing.
So I'm super confident that these autonomous cold email agents are going to be able to do the research, find the prospects, verify them, learn about them, build a sequence to them for email, LinkedIn, text. And then once those prospects reply, it's going to take up the appointment setter role answer their questions, get them booked onto a call. And all of that's going to be done by a single agent. And companies are working on this. I bet Instantly is working on their own version of this too. You haven't told me anything. I just assumed because you guys are on top of all that stuff. But that's coming fast. So get ready.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we cannot disclose much, but yeah, some some pretty disruptive stuff is coming up. We're gonna make an announcement in a week or two tops regarding our databases. So we are going to 10x the coverage that we have on our lead finder, because we have a data I mean, our focus is email deliverability, right, and just sending emails, but one thing that we realize is that in order to get better replies, you need to have really good data and a really good verification system. And that's why we build those tools on the side, in order to make it easier for users and trying to create like an ecosystem of stuff. So yeah, we're very excited about it. And yeah, I think in a month or two tops, we'll have a very disruptive AI feature. It's going to be... Yeah, I'm super pumped for that one, but I can't share much. But it's gonna make it easier for everyone to just work with Instantly. So
good. All these things that I'm talking about, the advanced stuff that we're doing with AI and signals and using AI to make sure that the prospect's actually qualified, it's still pretty complicated. You need to patch tools together, have expensive software fees, and that's kind of the new gold standard of sending a good cold email. So if you can build a lot of that into Instantly, at least the lowest hanging fruit, man, you guys are going to have a gold mine. Yeah. A lot of beginners need to be able to go in there and send good cold emails.
Yeah, I think that's a good point right there, because this month, Make and what's the other company? Zapier. Yeah,
launched AI agents.
Yeah, they launched AI agents. So when I saw it, I was like, oh, this is amazing, because it just makes non-technical users be able to just build their own workflows and automate everything. Because before you needed a developer to make all of this happen, but now it seems like it's all possible. Have you tried it out? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
So far, I'm not sold on AI on the agents. I think they've become really popular because of the influencers in N8N. Maybe that's just because I haven't fully adopted it yet. But it is something that I'm playing with, specifically in N8N. I've just gotten really good at building workflows and logic in a way that I can get it to do just about anything that I want to do. Nice. There's almost nothing I can't accomplish with a ChatGPT step with a couple different branches in make.com. So an AI agent's probably just going to make that a little bit easier, but not something I fully adopted yet.
So currently you build your automations on Make, and you're not a developer, I assume, right?
I am not a developer, and I'm actually using all three. I was using Zapier at first. This was years ago, so I've got all of my main automations in there, and we can chat all day about AI automation. Happy to. Then I adopted make.com because it was a lot more flexible, malleable. I was able to do a lot more. And now with N8N coming onto the scene and able to host it on my own servers and build and run unlimited automations, I have a lot of tasks that I consume with automation. So that's really going to save me a lot of money.
Yeah, it's always very inspiring when I hear non-technical users building these automations, and you just said like you can build them without problems. Obviously, there is a bit of a learning curve.
No-code automation.
Yeah. It's true. I think some people get kind of scared at the beginning, but once you pass, like, how long do you think it takes to pass that learning curve and then just be able to like pull them off on your own?
It depends what you want to do. So you can sign up for a Zapier account and do some basic automations. Just they make it really friendly just to get in there, connect some apps, and do some stuff. Zapier is the most friendly. N8N is the least friendly by far. Yeah. So if you want to go in Zapier and connect a form to a Google Sheet, I don't think you'll have any trouble figuring out how to do it intuitively. Now, if you want to go in N8N and make a bunch of API calls to various tools, you're going to have a hard time because that definitely takes a lot of practice, trial and error. So my, I guess, call to action there is find a good middle ground, figure out what you want to do. Zapier is going to be the easiest and most expensive. N8N is going to be the most complex. But also probably the cheapest and can do the most, but does require a lot more of that coding and technical skills.
Right.
But
Very
they all
interesting.
accomplish the same thing.
Okay, amazing. So speaking of AI, when it comes to your copy, like you just mentioned you use now like an AI that writes your some of your marketing copy. So when it comes to your emails, how much AI do you use to write your emails?
So I actually have an AI copywriter that I give as part of access to my program. It's something that I've designed over the years that does the research, uses the templates and proven campaigns that I've written myself to write really good copy. I would say for my own campaigns, I'm still doing almost all of them, and then maybe just using AI to improve it and do the spin tax. But when I'm doing this for clients, I'm almost using exclusively AI, at least to start out, because it just expedites the process so much. And now I've got proven frameworks where I've taught the AI. And this will be the theme for anything AI related. Don't just ask AI to write you a cold email. You're going to get a shitty result. If you're going to use AI, you really need to have your prompts dialed in. You need to have your training dialed in, or else it's not going to give you something that's actually usable. And you're just going to say, oh, AI doesn't work. It works, but you need to have models that are trained with prompts that are proven. And if you're asking about like writing the cold emails that I'm sending because of the Clay workflows and the AI personalization, for those, it's only going to be 1 or 2 words in a cold email. That's just AI for the personalization, not for writing the entire email. So I write my own emails for clients. We use AI as a starting point.
Nice. Do you also use spin text in your emails?
All of them, 100%. So one of the big fears is that the ESPs are looking at the same message coming over and over again. So we actually developed our own kind of spin tax GPT. Here's all of the words and phrases to avoid in the spin tax. Here's all of the rules that you need to follow. So it sounds organic and you're not just throwing words that are going to end up sounding like not a real email. So yes, lots of spin tax in all of our emails, and everybody should do the same.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I think that's the best practice. It always surprises me when I don't see people using spin text. It's kind of funny because every now and then we see users like, "Hey, I'm not getting results. Cold email is dead." I saw one comment in the comment section below, "Cold email is dead," and most of the time I actually go and check personally their campaigns if
It's
I
funny
have
that you
time.
can do that. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's cool.
I mean, I like to be on the trenches, to be honest. We are instantly like we just build a product that people want to use. So the only way to do that is by actually being in the trenches, sending cold emails, talking to people, and most of the time, it's just people not following the best practices, not verifying their leads, using cheap data, using the cheapest email infrastructure possible, not using spin text, just all the basics. I'm pretty sure like you talk about all of that in your insiders program. So it's just like if you just spend a little bit of time doing a course like yours or checking or content, you will learn all of this stuff, right? But if you just want to start sending cold emails and just do one-click blast everybody, most likely you're not going to get results.
Fundamentals, 100%. You mentioned spin text. Even that's like, it's basics, but it's a little bit more advanced. If you go even one step back from that, what is your offer that you're trying to sell via cold email, and who are you sending it to? If you can dial that in, everything else gets easier.
Yeah, I think what you just mentioned is perfectly aligned with this next question.
Great.
Because a lot of people, they are like, I get this question very often, like I'm not getting results, right? And then I think nowadays there is no excuse for it, because all you have to do is just talk to ChatGPT and literally explain what you're selling and ask it to start telling you who you should be selling your product to. And very recently, I sent a cold email campaign for a friend of mine. He is a language teacher online. And he needed new clients. I booked him, I think, like 25 meetings. He was super happy with companies, right? So he's like closing like 20 students in one go or more per company. So it's great revenue for him. And then the issue that he was having is that he was not getting replies before. So I told him, okay, let's just talk to ChatGPT. So ChatGPT started telling us, try all these different type of buyer personas. We tried them all. And when we targeted exactly the same company type and industry, the CEOs had 4 times fewer replies than the HR managers. And that was insane, because At the end of the day, the CEO is a decision maker, so you will expect them to kind of, give you like a similar response. And at the end of the day, the HR managers were the ones that drove the idea because they fully understood the problem solution. And then all they had to do was like get the signature from the CEO. The CEO kind of wasn't kind of aware of the problem solution. And it's almost like they didn't care, right? Probably because they're too busy with other stuff, right? And also because HR teams, they usually have like a budget allocated sometimes for like training purposes of their staff. So it's kind of all connected. So what I'm trying to say here is today there is no excuse to improve your campaigns, to discover who you should be selling to. Like all you have to do is just talk to ChatGPT, ask it as many questions as possible, tell it, hey, you are now a lead generation expert. I want you to tell me if my offer is good, who should I be targeting, position, job title, industry, countries, or states, whatever it is. But just go have a full conversation with it to try to get as much information as possible. Ask it to research the web, to research the market, right? So I think this question is for you, Jay, because we have a lot of viewers that are kind of new to cold email. So what would you recommend to someone in order to get their first customers?
I kind of want to take a different angle with this one because everything that you said is completely right. There's no excuse for not knowing if your offer is going to work, who you're going to position your offer to. I think the mistake most people make is that they want to jump into oceans where there's a ton of other competitors all selling the same thing to the same people because you've seen everyone doing it. Like, all right, let's target plastic surgeons with my SEO offer. Let's target online marketers with my content or video editing offer. Everybody's trying to sell the same things to the same people. And that's fine because there's a reason that agency services are so easy to launch, low upfront cost. A lot of it's based on your labor. So I'm not saying don't launch those things. What I'm saying is find a way to differentiate yourself from everybody else doing the same thing. And a lot of times the easiest way to differentiate yourself is to find the one thing in your offer that that person actually wants. So maybe you're selling SEO agency services. There's probably a lot of people on this call trying to do something just like that. What if you reframed it instead of like, do you want to hire my SEO agency or do you want like a SERP audit, like a rankings audit? Maybe you give them a backlink in a major publication because maybe that person really wants the backlink. Maybe you train Reddit. You're just posting on Reddit nonstop that their company is the best in the country at that thing. Now your pitch is I'm training AI because AI uses Reddit data that you're the best in that thing. So it's still SEO, but now you're framing it in a way that prospect actually wants your thing and you're differentiating yourself from everybody else selling the same thing. Because the fundamentals are true. You want to target decision makers because it's much easier to sell to them. You want to do that with an offer that you can sell high ticket with monthly recurring revenue. And you want to sell to somebody that can afford your services. So the end result of that is everybody's selling agency services or high ticket products to the same groups of people. And there's nothing wrong with that. My call to action to you beginners is find a way to set yourself apart from the pack by talking to your audience and testing different positionings that you're not just another price card in a pile of everyone else selling the same thing, but it's actually something that gets them excited to read that they haven't seen before. Because if they're excited and curious, they'll respond and open the door for you to go close. So your question shouldn't be, what do I sell? Who do I sell it to? You can figure that out. My question, or the hard question that you need to ask yourself is how do I position this in a way that's going to get my prospect excited that doesn't know who I am? And there's a lot of creative ways to do that. But that's kind of the hardest question to answer.
Yeah, I agree with you. And, some of the campaigns I've launched recently have been testing different niches and markets. So I have this one friend who, we send the same cold email campaign across different industries and across different countries. And it's kind of funny because he never tried this before, right? But he has an online business, so it's totally doable. And then we will email people in France where literally the first line was like, bonjour. And then the first, the opener was like in French. I'm sorry for my really bad French, right? That's the only part in the email apart from bonjour in French and the closing part, which is like, kind regards in French. So the person felt like there was a little bit of like effort. And people found it kind of funny, and they will reply by like, "Oh, your French is great, like no worries, blah blah blah," blah, and they will respond in English, right? And the reply rates were insane, like probably 5 times higher than just targeting the US or other markets. Probably because people are just not pitching as hard those services in those markets.
Yeah, and I'll say about something about humor. Humor works really well in some markets and really bad in some other markets.
Yeah.
But it's always worth testing. If you're unsure, try it. The worst thing that can happen is you get a couple bad responses and you stop the humor. You turn off that A/B test. But I've seen it work really well, and I've seen it work really bad.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. So this is a deliverability question. You know, I think it's like going back to the basics, but what do you think about this? Do you think people should be disabling open tracking, and what else do you think they should be doing in order to improve their deliverability?
Here's the basics. What we're doing right now that we found works really well. We're delivering almost 100%. No links or tracking links of any kind in that first email. And this is something I used to teach the opposite a year ago. This has changed dramatically. We're not tracking open rates. Instead, we're using reply rates as a proxy for open rates, which can be a challenge for sure, because now I don't know really which subject line and first line of the email is going to get the best open rates, which sucks because I used to rely on that. But now I'm just looking at reply rates as a proxy for those open rates. No open rate tracking, no unsubscribe links, unfortunately. And be very careful with the words and phrases that you use in your emails. Even the word unsubscribe or opt out. These are all words and phrases that we like to avoid. That first email that we send, people shouldn't know if it's from someone trying to sell me something or a vendor or a customer or a partner until they open the email. No images, no links. Now, once you get into the inbox with that first email, I think you have a lot more leeway for the second and third email. Because typically the Gmail, if you say you're sitting in somebody's inbox and a follow-up email comes, I've seen a lot less that Gmail is going to take that whole thread and move it to spam. A lot of times they'll just put it right in the same thread as that email that already hit the inbox. So if you want to send a link, send a high authority link, a YouTube link, a Loom link, a Calendly link, only in the second or third email, but still open tracking, click tracking, all of that off. It's not worth the potential risk of landing in spam.
Yeah, amazing. I love it. By the way, do you still have like 10 minutes in case you have like a meeting right now? Like,
we can jam. Okay, happy to.
Cool. Because we have a lot of questions, but we can do just
good. Let's do it. I'm gonna move my camera up a tiny bit. You can keep talking.
No worries. No worries.
I've got my computer monitor.
Yeah. No worries. Take your time. Okay. So this question from Andrew is about your favorite top 3 copywriting frameworks to see what's converting best. But maybe like we can make it a bit more broad, right? So is there anything that you're seeing is working for copywriting for you, like any strategies? Do you have any frameworks that work? Because I know that will be different depending on, from client to client. So yeah, what is it that you're using on your copywriting? What is your strategy there?
Strategy with copywriting, you really want to get somebody to take 3 separate actions when they're reading your cold email. You need to get them to open the email, then read the email, and then reply to the email. So I like to think about breaking my cold emails into those 3 sections. How do you get someone to open the email? That's really the subject line and the first sentence of the email. And the goal is to not let them know that a pitch or a sales email is coming. So don't totally bait them with something irrelevant, but keep it vague enough to pique their curiosity and get them to open it. And a lot of times this is being creative and testing a bunch of stuff. Now, a good example of that, we used to use quick question. Doesn't work anymore because it's been overplayed, but the theory of that is people have the instinct, the psychological instinct to respond to questions. So if you make them think that there's somebody in my inbox with a genuine question, it could be from a customer, from a partner, from a vendor, I should open that email. So the first thing somebody sees in their inbox is the subject line of the first sentence of that email. The goal with those should be to throw in a little bit of a pattern interrupt and pique their curiosity and make them think I should open this email. Do not signal that you're about to sell them something. It'll kill your open rates. Then you've got to get them to read the email. This is where social proof and problem come in. So really short, 3 to 4 lines tops. You want to call out their problem in a really non-sales, non-promotional way, and then build up some social proof, ideally in something that they recognize. So if you've worked with a client they know, if you've been featured somewhere that they're aware of, that will get them to immediately trust and resonate with you because they know that person. And then hopefully identify with the problem that you're calling out. So you've got 2 to 3 sentences to make that happen. And then the last thing you want them to do is take some sort of action. In my perfect world, you just want them to say yes or sure. So they should be able to respond with one hand, and you should not make them think. So it's, can I send over some more info? This something you're going through? Something where they can just reply yes. Once they reply yes, that's them raising their hand and asking for more information. Once they raise their hand and ask them for more information, it's on you to convert them into a call. But now you know they have that problem, and that's your opening. So I don't know if that's a framework per se. There's a lot of different ways I spin that to get the same result, but I think that's the best way to think about cold email. You need to get them to open it, read it, and say yes.
Love it. Amazing. 100% agree with everything you said. Like, mic drop, nothing to add there.
Love it.
All right, last questions from Levy. How can you tell when a client's offer is going to sell well on cold email? Do you have any way to predict that, or you just send the cold email campaign?
I don't know if I have a system to predict it. So how do I know if an offer is going to perform well? For me, it's 10 years of experience running different offers and seeing what happens. But what I mentioned earlier, standing out from a packed crowd and selling to somebody that not everyone else is selling to, that's really the big tell for whether or not this is going to work. If you're an SEO agency and you're like, hey, I sell SEO services, do you need help ranking on Google? And you're sending that to plastic surgeons. I've got a good instinct that's not going to do very well. You're going to have to send a lot of volume to get any sort of results. Now, if you were to come with that same approach that I mentioned earlier, hey, we train Reddit on your company name being the best. SEOs going this way. They're all training on Reddit data. We've got a 9 out of 10 success rate, getting your company featured by AI as the #1 cold email agency. I worked with Lead Gen J and Instantly AI, and you're sending this to, I don't know, more of a blue ocean avatar. I've got a pretty high confidence rate that one's going to perform better, because now this is something that I know intuitively as a business owner that I would open, that I would respond to. So that's kind of a good shit test for whether or not your offer is going to work. If you got that email, would you respond?
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I tell that to people all the time. And sometimes, some friends or people out there, they are like, hey, can you roast my copy? And I just tell them like, in all honesty, like before I even start, if you receive this email, would you reply back? Like, in all honesty. And they're like, no. Then like, there you go. Like, you need to rephrase it in a way and then ask people. But first, always think to yourself, will I respond to this email if I received it? Like, is it too spammy? Is it tempting enough? Does it get my attention, my interest? And usually people, like, they skim through emails. They just spend a few seconds and that's it. So
Yes.
like the attention span you have from people is so short that you need to make sure you capture the attention.
100%. You've got, the best thing you can do as an entrepreneur is radical self-reflection. Don't just look at your email copy. Look at your offer. Look at your website. Look at your competition and say, does it suck? Does it honestly suck? If it does, maybe don't start cold email yet. Talk to more people, get some coaching, work on that. Because if you can get the fundamentals right, everything else is so much easier. The cold emails become easier. The sales process becomes easier. Retention becomes easier. So if you're just trying to shill the same BS as everybody else, you're going to have an uphill battle the whole way, from getting your cold emails to work, to selling, to retention, to delivery. So spend the extra time on the fundamentals.
100% agree. And the last thing I want to add to that is, a lot of people, when they get negative results from a cold email campaign and they're just starting out with an offer, they kind of get demotivated. But what I tell people is that time is the most precious asset we all have. Like, you cannot purchase your time back at all, right? So when you are sending a cold email campaign to 10, 20,000 people, and you're not getting results, or you're getting a bunch of no's, like no, 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 and people replying back, you have saved yourself so much cash in paid ads, in SEO, because in order for SEO to work, you have to wait months, and paid ads is really expensive. But with cold email, like literally, you can just spend like a few $100s and then just test an entire market. And I think that is priceless, because you have just saved so much time, money, you tested the market, and that's it. You just move on, right? A lot of people, they kind of get down and demotivated, but I'm like, man, you don't know the big favor you have done to yourself. You have just, now you have all this time that you can use to improve your strategy, your targeting, your copy, and so on and so on.
I couldn't agree more. As a strategy for testing a new offer, testing an audience before you actually build a business around it, there's a better way to validate that something's going to work than throwing together a cold email campaign, especially if you don't already have a warm audience. Most people don't. That's typically what I would do at this point, is run a survey to my list. But if you're just getting started and you don't know what to sell, this is a great way to find out.
Yeah, love it. All right, I think that's the last question. I'm really sorry, guys. We couldn't go through all your questions. I love when we have more questions, that when we can manage it means that we have a community fully engaged. But obviously, if you have more questions, you can ask them directly to Jay, or maybe we can do another one of these lives. Who knows? Jay, what would be actually, you told me first that you wanted to give something at the end of the webinar to people. I can't remember what it is, but I think you wanted to share some access to people to some sort of mystery bonus or something like that.
Yes. So if you go to leadgenj.com/instantly and use the code instantly, I created a special coupon for our listeners here. Save 40% on my flagship offer. This is where we do the build outs. It's where we write the copy for you. It's got all of my most secret training that I don't post on YouTube because it's not all super YouTube friendly. Got like 1,500 people in there. Go read some of the reviews. Everyone swears by it. Nice. And if you want to go to leadgenj.com, I've got a lot of free resources for you. I've got a free community with 17,000 people. We've got a free cold email copywriter that you can use. So all that's going to be available to you guys. So I appreciate you asking, Philippe.
Love it. Amazing. Well, Jay, thank you so much again for everything. Hopefully we'll have another one of these. I loved it. I'd love to. Really enjoyed it. And again, once again, on behalf of the Instantly community, really appreciate all the knowledge and insights you've been sharing over these years. And thank you once again for joining today's webinar.
Yeah. Thank you for an awesome product. Bye, guys.